And there we go. Bitcoin has managed to get above the crucial $58,000 price range. We are back in this critical price range. And this, ladies and gents, is where I believe all the magic happens. So if you're excited for that, do me a favor and smash up those likes. We've got some phenomenal trading opportunities as we're going to be getting into this videos. And as usual, you've got the best exchanges in the game linked down below. If you want to start trading using these exchanges, you're going to get free money that you can throw back into the market. And any profits you generate with this free money is going to be yours to keep. So that is super, super cool. But yeah, Bitcoin is back up to its on its way now to the $61,000 resistance zone. And I think that this is very, very good news. If Bitcoin is able to punch through this resistance, we could be looking at that $64,000 zone of resistance, which we were talking about in the previous video. So shout out to those of you that are subscribed and watching this content regularly. You're going to know all about that. And now I think that we've got a very good situation, because to me, this really kind of cements that Bitcoin has punched in its first higher low. Honestly, since we entered this entire trend, I mean, if you look at this on a more zoomed out perspective, and, we can go onto the daily to make this point even more clear, this is the first time that Bitcoin has managed to set a really good higher low. Now, we actually did this before. I want to point this out to you. We did it right here, but this one was very short-lived, and it wasn't actually substantially higher than the previous low. So I quite like this. Obviously, we had this low and then this one getting a little bit higher, but this is a big difference. I think we all can tell that this is not the same kind of higher low that we saw before, these kind of weaker ones. This one is pretty damn sweet, and we're continuing to push up right now as we speak as well, which is really, really good news. So I think that we're looking at a pretty damn good position right now, Bitcoin punching through that resistance. Did it struggle a little bit? Yes, a little bit, but we were talking about this on this channel. I really wasn't too worried about breaking this zone of resistance. We had already tested it 3 times just on this little scale here, and 4 and 5 if we count this. We probably can't count that last one, but that's 4 attempts. I wasn't expecting this to be much of a problem. That's what I was making clear to you on this YouTube channel. And so naturally, of course, we did manage to get that move up. Now, in conjunction with that, we also have Bitcoin's dominance shooting up, nearly graduating to new highs. We're so close to new highs on Bitcoin's dominance. It only needs to move up by another 0.36 percentage points here, which I think is a very, very small move for Bitcoin's dominance. Ethereum, for example, is dying against Bitcoin. And again, another victory lap for those of you that were staying tuned to this YouTube channel, ladies and gents, because you would know all about our very serious, very confident Ethereum analysis that we've been putting out on this YouTube channel for 2 years now. Those of you that are watching me will know that I actually bought the very bottoms, sold the very tops, and then told you guys that I'm not going to be buying until at least down here or here. And we have now hit the first level 2 entire years later. It kind of sucks because, and you'll know this if you actually make money as a trader. If you don't, then you probably won't be able to relate. But, if you are the kind of guy that makes money in these markets, then actually it'll take some time for you to be proven correct, but you will be proven correct, and everybody else will get their, really intense enjoyment for 1 or 2 months, but they won't walk away with money. And you will. So this is a pretty damn sweet place to be. Yet another real-time lesson that we're learning of how important it is to have the correct analysis and conviction behind it, which is what we try to bring on this YouTube channel as much as we can. Again, smash up those likes, double check that you're subscribed if you do appreciate that. Ethereum against Bitcoin dropping a little bit. We'll come back to those in just a bit, but let's keep it locked to the Bitcoin chart right now, because if Bitcoin manages to fall back down, now the beautiful situation that we do have on this chart is kind of what happened last time, right? Bitcoin kind of pumped above this green box just like right now, and then it found resistance here, and we were able to start enjoying some support and just kind of trading sideways. So that worked out really well for Bitcoin, and then we ended up getting the breakout. That's the worst case scenario that I see for Bitcoin right now. I think that's the worst thing that could happen to Bitcoin, and it's obviously not even that bad. So I think we're all quite happy to be seeing that right now. But I do think that it would be, a really nice bit of consolidation for Bitcoin. Do I think that it's actually going to happen? No, not really. I think that we could actually move up. We also have a weekend trading session. So, could that mean a little bit more volatility for Bitcoin? Quite likely, yes. And, if we're already moving upwards, that could be a good sign. Who knows? I know a lot of people are interested in gaps, right? There's obviously a CME gap somewhere at like 53 that everybody's talking about. But you know me, I don't really care about those things. Other people talk about them, so I don't mind mentioning it. But I don't really think it's that important. That's why we leave gaps behind all the time. I mean, the fact that people talk about gaps is precisely why I don't think they're that useful, because if you can talk about a gap, that means there's a gap, which means that your theory is not working. So I think that that kind of sorts itself out on its own. But yeah, we've managed to pump above this zone of resistance. Now we've got this next resistance up at $61,000. And I don't think it's going to be too challenging for Bitcoin to break this one either. If we do lose this $58,000 level, then it's back down to this low at about 53. But unfortunately, I think if we do get back down there, I don't think that there's enough support down here for Bitcoin, right? I mean, we found support basically where we found support before back in July of this year. But I know, I'm not going to expect much more juice out of this range. I'm really not. So if we do end up falling back down here, I'm going to anticipate that we drop a lot lower, and then we start talking about 48K and 44K and so on, those kind of very low price levels, which, I would still love to see those price levels. I just don't know if we're actually going to get them, and I'm not going to hold my breath for it. So I think that that's important as well in this market. If we do end up losing this 58K level, then yeah, I think we could be going significantly lower. So that is kind of the level to really hold now, and it's very nearby, which does make this a little bit uncomfortable for anybody that's bullish right now. It's a little bit too easy to be invalidated. So I really want to get a lot more headroom here. I want to get a lot more kind of leeway for Bitcoin to drop and still be okay. But for now, I'd still expect support here. It's just if it collapses, I think we'd be in a little bit of trouble. And then back up top over here, a little bit of resistance. Nothing crazy. We have battled this resistance throughout this entire range, and this range has now lasted for about 7 months, 6 months. So yes, it's definitely not great. However, I can't make myself too worried about this purely on the basis of, this level being tested so many times, right? I mean, if we were kind of like back here, and I was looking at the market from this green line and before, I would be like, yeah, actually, this is a really important level. But, from this point, we just collapsed through it and pumped through it and collapsed through it and pumped through it too many times. The only time actually after this green line that we actually respected the level was here, and it lasted a grand total of 12 days. And by the way, since this level stopped being particularly useful, it's been at least 75 days, if not more, depending on how far back you want to draw it. So I just think that this level's gotten weaker. We can see that with data in front of us very, very clearly. And because of that, I'm not anticipating this level to be a super dangerous zone of resistance for Bitcoin, which makes the next stop here at 64 to 65K. And that's what I really think Bitcoin could be looking to head up to right now. I would love to see it. And I think that if we do see it, this bull market is firmly back on track. And we do start seeing some kind of resistance up ahead. We don't actually have any VPVR resistance here. So the reason that I've got this yellow line is not because of the VPVR, but it's because it's the prior high. And if we're doing a situation of kind of, setting higher lows, I would love to start setting higher highs as well, which is why I think that this level is so important. We obviously still have the very same point of control right now at $67,000. So that stayed here pretty much the whole time. It's still a difficult level. It's still going to be a dangerous level for Bitcoin as far as I'm concerned. But I do think that the bigger challenge is just going to be getting above 65 because that was the prior high. And before we even get there, as you can already tell, we do have a nice big spike on the VPVR right here. Now, if any of you are kind of curious about how to use this tool or you don't really get it, then type this into the YouTube search bar and you can watch my full tutorial on how to get this indicator and how to use it. It's great. It's a free video, and this is a very, very good tool. This is the fixed range volume profile, so it's a little bit different. And yeah, you should be able to see my my screen here. So it's down here. Yeah, you just go to this tool here, long click. And if you want to get into TradingView, then right below the like button and subscribe button, you're always going to find the link to TradingView here, where I highly, highly, highly recommend that anybody who's serious about trading does get themselves signed up on TradingView with a paid plan, because the features are very, very much worth it. And they're actually very cheap, right? I mean, if you can't afford TradingView, you probably just shouldn't be trading. That's my opinion, but who cares about what I say? We do actually, on the note of this fixed range volume profile, have the value area low right here. So this is a critical zone of resistance for Bitcoin. It does line up with this red box, so I'm quite happy to just draw this box down a little bit lower, and it's still the same damn box. I think it means the exact same thing. So yes, I think this could definitely be a zone of resistance for that reason alone. But again, I'm not too worried about it. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, we have to see if we hold 58. That's going to be the more important test. 57.7 more accurately, but yeah, a nice spike over here coming in at about $63,000. Am I concerned about it? No. Look at the price history around here. Look, we did get a lot of, rejections and support, but again, I think that, with the momentum that we're carrying behind us right now, and I think also just with traditional finance looking good the way it does, this is still a pretty sweet picture. We're going to get to traditional finance in just a minute. This is not a sensible, accurate Bitcoin analysis video without looking at traditional finance. And anybody that doesn't look at it is just plain and simple. They're just going to be misguided. So we're not going to do that. We're going to look at that in just a second. But before we do get there, let's continue looking at Bitcoin here and just see if we do have anything particularly interesting as far as indicators go, I also want to show you a couple of tweets that I've got here as well. But yeah, we have managed to break through that 4-hour Ichimoku cloud, which we were talking about. We didn't break through it as quickly as I wanted to, but who cares? We're out of it now. So that's a really, really good sign here for Bitcoin. I'm super, super happy to be seeing that. In terms of daily EMA resistance, we are also past all of it. So we've managed to get past the daily EMA resistance. So basically, in about 1 day of trading here, or two, we have broken some of the most, I wouldn't say dangerous, because I don't actually think they were that bad, but we have broken some of the worst resistance we have on the chart. That's not to say that the resistance was super strong, but it was the worst that we had at the time, and we've broken it. So that's a really, really good sign, and I'm very happy to see that. I think that that's putting Bitcoin in a very strong position right now. So I'm very excited to see where Bitcoin could be going. Just look at this. As I speak, we are trying to test that high and break through it. So we could be looking at something very exciting by the time that you end up watching this video. And like I said, if we do get above this red box, then 63 and 65 are going to be the next stops. And I still firmly believe that if we can get above this high, that's going to be a higher low and a higher high. I just don't see how that doesn't result in a new all-time high at this stage. I mean, this is going to be so typical of a Bitcoin halving cycle pump. It's exactly what happens during Bitcoin halving cycles. If we just move this green line over to roughly where the halving happened, we already knew this for a long time coming, that we usually pump into the halving at least a little bit, but right after and right before the halving, it's always, there's never been an exception as far as I can remember. It's always boring. It's always shit. At best, at worst, it's usually just a drop, and at best it's sideways. So it's generally a shit time to be in the market. I've lived through one of these halvings before. Many of you are living through your first one now, and it's still following in the exact same footsteps. So does that mean we're going to pump? Obviously not. There's no guarantees, but I like when Bitcoin repeats characteristics, and I think that's what we could be looking at right now. So just take a look at a couple of tweets here that I've got pulled up for you guys. We've got Stock Money Lizards here saying that a lot of alts are down over 70% from the recent highs over just the last 6 months. It's painful for many, but we could be about to witness jumps of several 100% within a couple of days or weeks. I agree with this sentiment completely, but I think that these people are a little bit early. And the reason I'm saying that I think they're a little bit early, people that are calling for this, is because Bitcoin and its dominance are still rising pretty aggressively. And if you think that Bitcoin is looking strong right now and it's going to continue moving up, then I don't know what would make you think money is going to start moving in altcoins. We understand the logic behind this very well on this YouTube channel, where obviously people that are a little bit more greedy, meaning they've made money, they're going to want to trade altcoins, but only when the main asset starts slowing down, or only when the main asset starts looking a little bit more boring. Bitcoin, on the other hand, hasn't even started looking interesting yet. I think you've got a timeline here, and based on where you are at the beginning, people get interested in Bitcoin, they get very, very interested, very, very interested, and then the interest wanes because Bitcoin kind of stabilizes. That's when altcoins go off. And I think we're here. I think we're fucking here, like off the camera, actually. So, I really don't think that we've had any of the real mania for Bitcoin yet. And because of that, I mean, yeah, could we get some nice several 100% moves? I mean, yeah, these are illiquid shit coins across the board. So absolutely, it takes fucking $10 to pump these things up by 100%. But will we, or is it likely? I think that's a different discussion. And more importantly, we talk about an altcoin rally, or more importantly, an alt season. Altcoin rallies can happen at any time. Like I said, $10 to pump a coin, it's no big deal. But an alt season, where I'm saying, life-changing money is made and it gets really, really interesting. And more importantly, where it becomes, where you start doing a disservice to yourself by staying in Bitcoin. I don't think we're anywhere near that yet. These kind of mini altcoin rallies that I think people like this guy are talking about, in my opinion, it's almost more risky to be in those alts, because then you're reducing your exposure to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is the thing that's safely making money right now. So I don't know why people would want to do that, but that's just my take there. I think that there's a lot going for these charts, actually. And if we do take a look at this from the perspective of Bitcoin's dominance, like I said, this is looking pretty damn sweet right now. And if it does manage to break this high, then what else is in between Bitcoin and that next 60% range? I mean, this last move that we made took Bitcoin's dominance up by 3.1%. And if we do the same thing again, 3.1 will put it above 60%, nearly at 61%. So I firmly believe that Bitcoin's dominance is going to continue continue to move up. Could I be wrong? Yes. Have I been wrong about this ever? No. So I don't know. You take that for what it's worth. Ethereum against Bitcoin, like I said, falling off a cliff right now. I mean, we've seen this body language a million times. I've pointed it out to you a million times. This is what makes it so easy to trade. And like I said, ladies and gents, those of you that are interested in trading, we've got such beautiful opportunities for you linked down below. Bybit is the best exchange in the game. You don't even pay any spot trading fees, and they're going to give you up to $30,000 for free to trade with when you start trading using my link down below. They also have Apex, which is a decentralized exchange, basically built by them. It's exactly what you expect. You can link it directly with Bybit, and it is full custody for yourself. You don't have to give your coins to anybody, which is absolutely sick. This is well worth checking out. This is going to be the future of crypto, and it's already doing pretty sweet as well. And of course, Blowfin, a phenomenal alternative to both of them for those of you who are interested. Also well worth checking out. These guys are making waves in the space. They've got solid volume. They've got a great platform and lots and lots of free money for you to get. By the way, I mean, I don't know if I can't actually show it to you right now, but they have got huge bonuses that you can get with when you sign up to them, which I think is super, super cool. Let me just pull that up for you guys, because this is so sweet that I have to show it to you. Look at this. If you deposit just $1,000 and meet a certain volume requirement, you get $500 deposited into your account, and you can trade with that. That's free money you can trade with. Any profits you generate are yours. So really, really powerful offers, well worth checking out there. But if we do move it back here, the key thing that I've kept repeating is that when you get these bounces that start off really strong and then get weaker and then become non-existent, that's your surefire sign that this thing is about to roll over and die. And it makes complete logical sense, right? I mean, a lot of people, they get intimidated when they look at charts, but level with me for a second, bro. Level with me for a second. If you look at these charts and you look at what we're actually looking at here, what we have is a chart that originally was bouncing with a lot of strength, okay? It bounced with a lot of strength up here, and then with less strength, and now zero strength. I mean, we're not talking about a chart or something mathematical or something particularly complex. You can apply this to humans, right? Everybody thinks they're great at being, psychological like readers, and they can like read people's psychology and shit like that. This is the same thing. It's just easier because it's in numbers now, right? If you see somebody who's in a fight and originally they're throwing really, really strong punches, but then their punches get weaker, and then they can't even throw a punch, what do you think is going to happen to them? Do you think they're going to keep fighting, or do you think they're going to fucking drop and lose the fight? So it's the same thing with Bitcoin here. We can apply it with these kind of analogies, and it makes complete sense. And it's obviously the same thing for Bitcoin, or for crypto in this context too. I mean, if we take a look at Ethereum right here, here's another beautiful example. We set this low right here at 0.47 BTC per token. We get a nice bounce. But what happens the next time we come to this level? It's almost no bounce at all. And on this occasion, there's no bounce at all. And that's when we lose it, right? And so this is the exact same chart pattern that you're seeing right now. This one is just happening a little bit more slowly than this one, but it's the same damn thing. And by the way, it continues all the way across the board. I mean, there's so many examples of this happening here. Like, here's another one. Look at this. You get a nice big bounce, followed by a weaker bounce, followed by a bounce that's weaker and then stronger. We don't really know exactly what was going on there. And then this one here, it just doesn't even bounce when it comes back down, and then it collapses. Obviously, this collapse didn't stick, but that's not the point. The point is that it collapsed when we can clearly see weakness coming through in the market all the time, ladies and gents, all the time. You don't really find exceptions to this. It's super easy. Look at this right here. Big bounce right here, but the next time, no bounce at all, and then we end up dropping. So we see this across the board. It's even more obvious now than it has been in recent months. Does that mean it's going to keep dropping again? I don't know, but I clearly think that, it's going to be hard for Bitcoin to not continue to rise with more strength in those altcoins here. So let's go ahead and take a look at traditional finance here before I continue looking at a couple of those final tweets as well in this video. Again, if you have been enjoying this, do me a favor and smash up those likes. And actually, let me just throw this tweet up on here. We've already done that. MicroStrategy and BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF combined hold $35 billion worth of BTC. That sounds like a lot, but it's actually not. Bitcoin's worth like well over $1 trillion, if I'm not mistaken, right now. Actually, we can find out. Let's go ahead and check that out. Bitcoin's market cap. Yeah, it is $1.2 trillion, and 35 billion of that, which means about 0.28% of this complete supply is held by institutions, specifically the ones that are named here. Does that mean anything in particular? Well, I think that the real thing, and I've looked at this before. I don't have the data to hand. The real thing that you need to evaluate if this is a big deal or not is, number one, how much of this asset class do you anticipate will be held by ETFs and deep pockets of people like this? How much of the total supply do you think will be held by people like this? And one of the ways you can answer that question, because you might have a feeling, but we don't really care about feelings. One of the ways you can answer that is by looking at gold and other assets and just looking at how much of those assets are held by these kind of characters. And if that number is 1% or 5% or 10%, then clearly we're miles and miles and miles and miles away from that even happening. And I think that that in itself tells you something very important, right? Everybody gets excited when these motherfuckers buy Bitcoin. I don't get excited when they buy Bitcoin. I get excited before they buy Bitcoin, okay? Because before they buy Bitcoin, the only button available to them is the green button. Now that they've bought Bitcoin, they can also press the red button. So the time to get excited is before this shit happens. And if you think, like other assets that are major in this world, if you think that MicroStrategy and BlackRock and so on are going to end up holding a much larger supply of Bitcoin, then yeah, we're pretty early. I mean, I don't mean to, and I already know some of you guys have got the lotion out and you're getting to work. I don't mean to, kind of excite you like that. That's not what this is about. But I think it's logic, and I quite like that. So here we are with the S&P 500 again, looking super strong here, ladies and gents. I mean, if we look at this daily open, it's another gap up and continuing to trade up during this trading session. We only have an hour left on this trading session, but it's looking pretty damn sweet, in my opinion, right here, ladies and gents. I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. And I think that, we could be looking at some nice big movements up if the S&P 500 just wakes up that little bit more and continues to pump. I mean, is it possible that we're just kind of consolidating, and getting ready to, drop or even continue rising up? Yeah, I mean, either of those I think are possible. But at this stage, I'm really not worried about a bigger macro drop, and I'm especially not worried about sweeping either of these lows anymore, because it's now a triple top. I don't really think the S&P 500 steps triple tops. Somebody can correct me in the comment section, but I've looked at this quite a bit and I haven't seen anything like that. So I definitely think that the S&P 500 has got a very nice path paved for it to continue to rise up right now. Whether that's after a bit of consolidation or kind of shallow pullback that comes down to this red box perhaps, and then it doesn't matter. I really don't care. But I think that the S&P is looking pretty sweet in that regard, and I think that's why Bitcoin's looking good too. Like I said, you can't analyze Bitcoin without looking at traditional finance, and I think that really tells us a lot about the S&P 500. If we bring it over to the dollar has continued to suffer a little bit. Is it possible that the dollar now kind of, rolls over from this kind of ascending channel and continues downwards, just like it did the time before that, and the time before that, and the time before that, and the time before that? Yeah, it's possible. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but clearly, there is a trend right now for the dollar, and it ain't looking good. And by the way, we also have interest rate cuts right on the horizon. I don't know if you guys were looking at that, but if we do take a look at interest rate cuts, and just type this into Google here, we've obviously got, the Fed is always being a little bit stubborn, but if we take a look at Europe, for example, this has been happening for a while now. It's continuing to happen as of very, very recently. And if anything, this should be making the dollar go up, but it's not. So to me, that indicates that, whatever interest rate cut could be coming for the US, I think it's already being priced in, which is obvious. That's exactly how markets work, right? If there's a date that you can anticipate, then in 100% of the cases, it will be priced in, because people want to make money and people are smart when they want to make money. So I definitely think these things could be priced in, but I don't think that means we're done. And I think that still means the dollar could drop by quite a bit. These headlines, they change every single day, but we are still looking at imminent rate cuts, I think, from the Federal Reserve. So we'll see how that goes, but I think that the dollar, it's hard to make a bullish case for the dollar right now on this index. I mean, technically, yeah, it could keep on moving up, but also how many times have we tested this level, right? So I think from that angle, we're looking pretty good. Even if the dollar does end up moving up, I don't see it getting above this yellow line or out of this green box. And in either case, they're pretty big moves. I mean, that would definitely damage Bitcoin, but by how much? I'm not that worried about where the dollar is right now overall. So I think that's looking pretty down. But we've got right here, Another tweet from TA Trader Alan that Bitcoin is just copying the last moves. Here's the pattern, but with a larger scale. The pattern is the same, that we are moving up. And again, I mean, yeah, it's exactly what I was talking to you guys about as well. He's just kind of put this together with some more kind of fractal justification. I mean, is this a bit of a stretch? Yes, I think so. I think this is definitely a bit of a stretch, but it also makes a lot of sense, and I completely agree with it, because I don't need to see a copy paste, a copy of what's happened. All I need to see is that we're generally following the same kind of path, and that is exactly what's going on right now as far as I'm concerned. So I firmly believe that these $130,000, $140,000, $150,000 targets are not only realistic but reasonable, if not conservative at this stage, because another 7 months. I mean, ladies and gents, we know what happens when Bitcoin consolidates for 7 months. Okay, we saw it over here. Bitcoin from this point to its high moved up by 3 times. It pulled off a 3 times gain, right? So if we kind of count, I don't know, like the bottom, like here where we just are right now, the kind of bottom of this range, let's say it's 60K. If we count this as where we start the next move from, oh my God, I can't even fit it on the chart. A 3 times gain for Bitcoin puts Bitcoin at $180,000. If we start it from the absolute low that we set up by 3 times, that still puts Bitcoin at a conservative $150,000 target. I think that in both cases, we smashed through those levels at this stage. We've had another 7 months of consolidation, and everything is looking good. And there's an election that's about to happen in 2 months. I mean, I just don't see it happening any other way. It definitely could. It wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong. You've heard me say all this before, but my job as a trader is to look at these probabilities and put money behind them where I think the probabilities are in my favor, and I'm quite confident to do that in this case here. So I'm quite happy with all that. And if we take a look at one final tweet right here, just another interesting one here from Pushpendra Singh Digital. Analysis distribution of Bitcoin supply, we can kind of get an idea of who owns how much Bitcoin. And again, this just goes to show you that Satoshi, the original creator, or creators plural, of Bitcoin still hold the same 1.1 million Bitcoins that they've held for a very, very long time. But after that, it's Binance. So we're not really too worried about Binance. That's not one person holding it. That's, a company holding it, in many cases, having custody of it for their clients. So, not the same as something like BlackRock or Grayscale. Even the US government and so on, there's a little bit more room for this to grow. Yeah, I'm not gonna like sit here and look at this data and jack myself off to it like everybody else on YouTube, but I definitely think that there's something here which is worth paying attention to, at least just a little bit. Other altcoins across the board, Solana's doing pretty sweet. It's recovering slowly. Obviously it's gonna just pump and just melt our faces at some point. Whether that happens before a dump, I don't know, but I still think it's in pretty good posture right now. We've seen a little pump on XRP, and as usual, nothing happened with it because XRP is a total shitcoin, and anybody that still believes in it, holy shit, you need an IQ check. If we take a look at Tron, which I'm still in a position in, it is continuing to move up absolutely fantastically. So good stuff across the board there. Bitcoin continuing to climb in dominance just as we speak in this video. Look at that, punching brand new highs here for Bitcoin's dominance just as Bitcoin continues to move up. No surprises here. When Bitcoin moves up, Bitcoin's dominance moves up. Nobody wants to trade altcoins while Bitcoin is moving up because you're already making money in Bitcoin. Why would you take additional risk? You've been scarred and scared and in pain and bored for 7 fucking months. Why would you want to make that worse by trading altcoins now? Clearly you don't want to, and clearly the market doesn't want to either. The data is in front of us. We're not actually pushing new highs. That was a mistake on my part, but we're very, very close to it. So pretty sweet and exactly what we would expect at this stage in the market. So there you go, ladies and gents. Really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, you know exactly what to do. Smash up those likes, subscribe, take the bell, all that good stuff, and check out your thousands of dollars in bonuses with the links down below. Bybit VIP users, depending on how much you deposit and stuff like that, you are going to get a Bybit debit card completely free. You can spend this all around the world. You get cash back. I've actually got a nice amount of cash back now. I can spend it on tokens. I can spend it on a bunch of stuff. So that's super, super cool. I can just fund my trading account with it. So that's cool. And it's not too hard, right? I mean, it depends on obviously how much equity you hold and stuff like that. But to hit, $10 million in trading volume or $100,000 deposit, obviously very, very few people can do it, but many of you guys watching can. So, it's not that crazy to think about. And the benefits, I think, are pretty damn sweet. And this is available worldwide, by the way. It doesn't matter where you are. You can get this debit card. So just reach out to your VIP manager if you do have that. But again, huge bonuses if you do want to start trading with free capital, linked down below. And just well worth, diversifying where you hold your crypto as well as a bottom line. But there you go, ladies and gents. Hope you've enjoyed this one. You know what to do if you have, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.